Okay, I'm back. Well, so much for getting 23 done or even 10 done today. Actually, I could still possibly, during this session, get 10 done, which would be my quota for today, which would keep me on track. Not ahead at all, but on track. Okay. Okay, so now we got this. What? I want a stupid X chat. Uh, okay. Tied up to a wine cask without the sunlight, she managed to get free of the rope binding her and the princess. Goes back down, she looks left, right, and behind her. To her left, she sees what looks to be tasting alcohol. Okay, so let's just go ahead. Meanwhile, I don't know if I do a meanwhile or not. Wine. The princess woke up in what appeared to be a wine cellar. Only was, let's see, appeared to be a wine cellar. The light to light and just came to, and at first couldn't see anything. It was cold, a bit musty smelling, and the floor was also cold and hard. She tried to rub, she tried to move her arms, rub her shoulders, only she was restrained. Looking around, she noticed she was tied up with something. Uh, but when her eyes adjusted, she could see wine barrels stacked up to the ceiling. and a hallway stretching seemingly endlessly in the left and right directions. Ahead, the hall head was kind of an open area with a spiral staircase in the middle leading up toward the ceiling. She couldn't see much past the staircase. But this is going to be a long one too. Help. Help. Anyone? Kept screaming for a while, and I realized it was useless. Okay. She felt like she was being watched, and soon saw dozens of, what do you say, dozens of thin points of light in the walls. Hello? She called, this time a little more calmly. A mouse popped, pooped, popped a hole. Hmm. Let's restart this. I kind of need to like compress this because I could deal with this whole thing. There's a whole exchange that I'd written earlier, where she talks to the mice, to this mouse, and he doesn't want to let her go. He doesn't want to free her from the ropes, and so she does a little reverse psychology, talking about how these other mice are real easy at, you know, chewing through ropes that bind them, kind of hinting at the Chronicles of Narnia when the mice freed Aslan from the broken stone table when he was killed. Um, and so there's this whole kind of exchange and stuff, but I don't really have the room on here. I don't have the page room for the exchange, so I need to kind of keep it succinct. I still need dialogue in here because I could say they said this to them and they did this and whatever, and that's still not a narrative. The princess getting too didn't see anything, but as her eyes adjusted, she realized she was in a very large wine cellar. Um, She called out several times to no avail. Eventually, she could see something watching her, and a tiny mouse, stepped out. This is a different mouse than the one at Wizard U. Yeah, mouse. Can you talk? She asked the mouse. Of course I can. We're in. We are citizens after all. The mouse replied. We. I'm. I just can. Spit on the verdants. Maybe verdants, yeah. It's like Kingdom of Verdants, but so I'm most definitely not a citizen here. Although I have visited many a time. I mean, we, Your Highness. Your Majesty, or Majesty. Your Highness. The mouse gestured to the left and the right, and soon dozens of mice out. You can see you're in a pickle. And we shall have you 3, 2. How about we shall have you free in 3 3 laps, yeah. A blind mouse run. The mouse squeaked to the others, and they all ran up and started nibbling at the ropes, binding her. When she was free, she rubbed her wrists. She rubbed her wrists. Break. Give a name for the mouse that actually helps free her the first time from the ropes underneath. Yeah. Because I think I did. I think I had it like a soul spiel. Finley. Yeah. Yeah, I had to score a little in that bit of the argument and reverse psychology for space. But he will introduce himself so that work. Uh, and whom? Uh, I'm trying to figure out how the addresses him. I think, would it be whom or who? And whom may I ask? Release me? Or is it, and who may I ask? See, I gotta go back to English, basically, rudimentary English. Definitely be who. Here's a quick grammatical trick to always know which one to use. Temporarily take out the interrupting phrase, may I ask. Like the rest of the sentence, you're left with who released me. The person, or in this case the mouse, is the one doing the action of releasing. It is the subject of the sentence, which means who is the correct choice. Whom is only used when the person is the object receiving the action. To whom did you give the cheese? Yeah, your line. And who, may I ask, released me? Perfectly natural for Princess Kara's characters, polite, appropriately royal, and perfectly says films the eager introduction. Okay. Next. It's released me. Right. Am Finley. Nice. At your service. Well, wait a minute. Thank you. Thank you for releasing me. Now I need to find a way to escape. Another mouse walked up to Finley and squeaked, squeaked, squeaked something to him. Head of you is the main staircase that leads to the kitchen. So the tasting alcove will actually be on the right because she's facing the staircase. When she comes off the staircase, then it's on her left. To your left is more is more wine storage, and to your right, a tasting alcove. And actually, what is behind the staircase? Don't remember. Uh, Behind the staircase. Actually, down later. And a long table on the right, more shelves of wine on the left. You can give it. I'll refer this. Don't fear, my lady. Whenever you need us, we'll be there. And I don't really have a thing for my lady, my lady, my lady, my lady. With that, Finley and the rest seem to melt back into the wall. Walking forward, he looked in all three directions, and it seemed just as Finley described. She then walked up the staircase to look into the kitchen. Look kitchen and tried opening the door. The door was locked, and she couldn't do anything else. And besides, she didn't want risk being seen anyways. So she went back down. This time, the tasting alcove was on her left, and when she looked behind the staircase, she could barely see the long table. Okay. Okay. Hit 1 if you want the princess to explore behind the staircase. And this is a deal. If you hit 1, you automatically go to the dumbwaiter. If you hit 2, then you see a few things, and then you go back, and then you end up going to the dumbwaiter anyways. Hit... Oh, why did I do that? Hit 2 if you want the princess to check out the tasting method. Hit 0 to quit. Great. Okay. Back at the staircase. So you go to the tasting alcove, and then you go back to the... Hmm. Uh, Princess walks behind the staircase and notices the wine cases and the long table, evening rook, and the long table. Just as Finley had described. So that he figured that the dumb waiter should be here as well, and as she went further in, it eventually appeared. Hoping it would be called up at sometime, she climbed into the small but somewhat adequate what do we call that, carriage? What do you call the dumbwaiter? Shelf or whatever, a dumbwaiter that you set food and whatever on. I don't know what it's called. The basket is the carriage. What is it? Is it the elevator? What is it? Is it the uh tray? the cab. As long as the buyer's inside the car where you set the food trays usually. Okay. I guess you could also call it a fridge. Yeah, it's outside my sources, that's right. And that's fine. I don't need like scientific explanation or whatever. I just need a general term that sounds right. Calling comes outside, yes, yes. In an elevator or dumbwaiter terminology, carriage is frequently used to describe the moving structure of the load-bearing frame. Travels up and down the shaft using the word carriage gives the apparatus a slightly more mechanical or antique feel. It fits perfectly with the 1800s style aesthetic you mentioned earlier for a hotel's out-of-time elements. Describe Mr. Crashing inside the carriage of the dumbwaiter just before the cook slides the tray in. Will paint a very clear and accurate, era-appropriate picture for the player. Alright, I'll call it a carriage then. That's what I was thinking of. For for size. Of the small but adequate carriage. And then wrapped her dark green velvet cloak around her. Carriage. She then tightly wrapped her dark green cloak around her and covered herself up. What seemed like hours. Time passed, bro. Time passed for what seemed like hours, and she was almost dozing off when the dumbwaiter started to move. Hit 1 to continue. Hit 0. Hit 0 to quit. Okay, yeah. Okay, she's going left, right, because it's actually on the right side, but it's left as she comes down the staircase. Just coming off the staircase, the princess decided to go left, and then spotted a couple of wine casks doubling as tables with a few chairs around. The makeshift tables were near the end, and on top there was a cheese wheel a knife sticking out of it. Another had a few half-empty wine glasses, and a third a wine bucket with an ice pick inside. Just peeking. Oh, wait, just peeking over the rim. A corkscrew was lying beside one of the wine glasses. She returned the stair. Okay. She returned to the staircase. Hit 1 to continue. Hit 0 to quit. Okay. What's next? Dumbwaiter stopped, but the princess couldn't tell what level. Oh. Oh, yeah, wait. Stopped a few times. Um, Stopped. Okay, the dumbwaiter stopped once. No, the dumbwaiter didn't stop. The dumbwaiter doesn't stop. I mean, not that it couldn't stop, but she's gonna be up the guest rooms. Eventually stopped, but the princess didn't know where she was. She overheard I need to have some like quick banter here between the guards so that you can kind of tell it's the kitchen. Okay. Let me think. Um, there's some information she could learn here. Yeah, maybe they. I don't want to get here. Oh, sure that was all right. Anyways, I don't want to get like lewd or anything, but maybe the guards are talking about the let's say the shape of the cook and commenting about her cooking abilities versus how she looks, and If I could do it in such a way where um, I'm not trying to like be lewd or anything, you know. Maybe they joke about their boss Max and how he can't get a date, so he has to kidnap him or have him kidnapped or some dumb thing like that. Mm, I have to think of some appropriate conversation, and it's just got to be a couple lines. Okay, so she's in the dumb waiter. It stops. Then she hears some voices. Someone opens the door part way, shoves a tray in, and doesn't notice her. Partly because he's not expecting someone to be in there. Partly because um, he can't see that well in the carriage. And also, she's partly um, partly masked by her cloak. But I'm trying to think of some dialogue for the guards to say. Um, Thinking about maybe a line about how the um, doesn't cook very well, but she's good looking or something of that nature, or maybe uh, laughing how the boss can't get a date, so he kidnaps them. What was the other thing? But at the same time, all it is appropriate. I don't want to put a bunch of crude, or rude stuff in there, but still sort of that vibe where the guards don't really care about their bosses or anyone else for that matter. Maybe it'll give me some ideas and then I can figure it out here. It'll skip some options. I think henchmen casually mocking their boss or complaining about their jobs while completely missing the protagonist hiding right in front of them is a staple genre. He pulls a cloak around her, camouflage in the shadows, makes for since the careless, apathetic guard wouldn't even bother to look closely before shoving a tray inside. Uh, to all ages, appropriate dialogue options that you can use depending on which joke you think fits the moment best. The boss can't get a date joke, highly recommended. Works perfectly because it mocks Maximilian spells dual identities, both an evil wizard and a corporate billionaire, and highlights how little the guards respect him while keeping the humor completely family friendly. I'm just saying, dragging a royal princess all the way to a hotel basement seems like a lot of unnecessary effort. The rough voice echoed just outside the doors. Are you kidding? The second guard replied, his tone dripping with apathy. The boss might have all the money in the ropes, but he's got zero charm. If he didn't kidnap them, how else is he ever going to get a date? The dumb stuff, right? This is kind of what I was suggesting. The first card, triple fair point. You think being an evil billionaire would make you a little more popular. Suddenly, the one waiter door slid halfway open. Karen pulled her dark cloak tighter around herself, pressing into the shadows of the carriage. A gloved hand carelessly shoved a tray of clattering dirty dishes inside, not expecting anyone to be in the dim box. The guard didn't even look before sliding the door shut again. Option 2, the cook's bad food joke. If you want to play up the cook's involvement, since you noted earlier she's quite fetching and sympathetic to the princess, this option gives the guards a reason to be returning their trays in the first place. The waiter shuddered to a halt, Karen held her breath. I don't know how the boss expects us to conquer the realms eating these rock-hard pastries, the gruff voice complained just outside the doors. Hey, don't complain, the second guard replied lazily. Have you seen the new cook? I'd happily eat a dragon scale pie if he was the one baking it. Yeah, well, he practically just did. Suddenly, the dumbwaiter door slid halfway open. Karen pulled her dark cloak tighter around herself, pressing the shadows. A gloved hand carelessly shoved the tray of half-eaten stale pastries inside. Blinded by the hallway light, not expecting the company, the guard didn't even glance in the dim box before sliding the door shut. Yes. Totally checked out of their jobs and provided a brief moment of high tension for Karen and immediately relieved that tension with a solid punchline. Mm-hmm. Like them both, actually. But I'll decide here in a moment. Yeah, I mean, this is actually what I suggested. So I mean, it's it's sort of based on stuff I wrote already, and then based on what I kind of what I said. So even that's kind of, I guess that's kind of the cool thing about Notebook, right? Is because it's still kind of gathering from what you already wrote. So if you write a bunch of stuff, it'll better capture what how you write. Stealth sequence where she had to dodge Barty and his guards by hiding in the closet or an empty room before she eventually stumbles into the map room with the gate blueprints. Okay. Uh, alrighty. She heard a few voices and wrapped her cloak more tightly around her. Hmm. I like the idea, but I'm gonna try to rewrite dialogue in my own way so that I'm still doing it my own way, basically. Uh, so it's still me, not just the AI. Yeah. Uh, I don't know. Conquer anything in food like this, said one guard. Uh, yeah. See me cook. Happily, yeah. Hmm. Dragon scale pie. That's not bad. You know, maybe I should mention the bloodberry. Okay, so in my world, in my game store world, vampires drink a wine from a berry called the bloodberry. Of course, it probably has some sort of scientific name, but bloodberry is what it's called, usually called. And why? Because the juice from it actually looks like blood, and that's where vampires, at least my vampires, get the bad reputation for drinking blood. They don't actually drink blood; they drink a special wine from this bloodberry, and even bloodberry isn't actually blood; it just looks like it. And maybe I should mention bloodberry pie. Maybe bloodberry, um, even though it's not blood, maybe it's like an acquired taste. In other words, only vampires really actually like the bloodberry, and nobody else does. And I won't exactly say it tastes like it's not gonna taste like blood because I don't want to get gross. And but being a berry, it tastes like a berry. Let's see. Do you know of any edible berries in the real world um, that nobody likes the taste of, but is not at all poisonous? Um, yes, I realize that you'd have you would have to look outside my sources, but I'm just using this for an idea here. So it doesn't even need to be 100% accurate. I'm just wondering if there might not be any. Most berries are sweet and some are poisonous, obviously, but there might be berries out there that you wouldn't want to eat, but it's not at all poisonous to you. It doesn't hurt anything. Bear bearberries, kinnikinnick are a perfect real world examples. They're completely safe to eat and non-poisonous, but they're famously unappetizing. The texture is mealy, dry, and bland, and they're often described as tasting like sawdust or dry cardboard or flavorless mush. Typically only eaten by humans as a last resort survival food. Rowan berries, mountain ash, while technically edible and safe, they're incredibly bitter and astringent when eaten raw, instantly drying out your mouth and making you pucker. Chokeberries, living up to their name, these are so astringent that eating them raw is highly unpleasant, even though they are actually very nutritious. Fantastic contrast to existing berries. And you already established the bloodberry, which cannot use to make his non-blood wine. However, uh, the count specifically notes the bloodberry tastes sweeter than the sweetest grapes. If you're looking for an idea for a new item, okay. Hmm. Hmm. Yes, I forgot. Um, forgot the berry is supposed to be supposed to be super sweet. I was going to mention that the, the guards, anyone cooked, who cooked, who prepared them correctly, would would probably like them pretty well. Anyone who ate correctly prepared the berries would find them very pleasant. It's going to make a cook remark and include the bloodberry since already have that in the game world. This gives you a perfect setup for misunderstanding between an expert cook and a bunch of uncultured henchmen. Uh, Dang it, Stream Boo. Anybody that promotes Stream Boo here on Twitch, I always just ban them outright because they're not people, they're bots or something, I think. This gives you the perfect setup for misunderstanding. The guards would naturally be disgusted by out of pure ignorance, while the cook would be deeply offended that her sweet culinary masterpiece is being rejected. This option sets the joke perfectly while the cook is loading the tray. Philistines, a lot of them. Woman's voice muttered angrily. A tray of exquisite ruby red pastries was shoved aggressively in the dim carriage, nearly missing Kieran's knees. Hmm. Yeah, I didn't. I mean, I didn't have it stop there. They were gonna actually put their. Huh, interesting. The perfectly prepared bloodberry tart sweeter than. What do they say? The cook complained to herself, wiping her hands. They said they aren't vampires and refuse to eat anything that looks like blood and grateful thugs. They wouldn't know fine dining if it bit them. Too distracted by her own culinary outrage to look closely into the shadows of the box, the cook slammed the dumbwaiter door shut, sending Karen continuing on her upward journey. It establishes the world. It naturally reminds the player of the Bloodberry lore and perfectly aligns with the Count's defense of his people's wine. It characterizes the cook. She shows she takes her job very seriously, has zero respect for Max's guards, perfectly foreshadows why she should be sympathetic and willing to help Princess Karen and John later on during the rescue sequence, provides natural camouflage. The cook being blinded by her own frustrations, highly believable reason why she didn't spot a princess hiding in the back of the dumb raider carriage. Yeah, I could actually do it that ways, I guess. Dang. I don't know how many pages I'm getting done, but maybe won't get that many pages done today, unfortunately. But that's the way it goes, I guess. Uh, hmm. There's actually several ways I could go about this, though. I can still have the deal here. Hmm. I'll have to think a bit more. There's a ton of different things I can do here. Um, Good option here. Dang it. Yeah, I might do the Philistine thing here. Maybe, yeah. I might go on a different tact. The cook be putting stuff together and say, you know what, I should poison them, but I don't want to get in trouble or something. Something like there'd be consequences to pay if I ever did something like that. Hmm. There's some way. So, like grapes, you should be able to eat the blood berry right off the vine. It should taste good. So, how would she make a pie or a pastry made with berries palatable to them? I mean, I guess she could always throw in something from something else that makes it taste bad. Maybe there are some other red berries taste horrible, but look like berries. I mean, I could just do a plain, she throws something in and it tastes horrible. Hmm. Here are three ways you can explain what the pie tastes and pie will, including the way the type directly exists in lore. Count's letter, he explicitly states, love the taste of garlic. I mean, the vampire community loves the taste of garlic. Since bloodberries are traditionally a vampire crop, what if the cook is making an authentic vampire bloodberry tart? To a vampire, pairing super sweet bloodberries with heavy, pungent, savory garlic is a high class delicacy. But to a standard garden expecting a sweet cherry pie, taking a massive bite of sweet berries and raw garlic would be absolutely revolting. This gives the cook a plausible deniability. What? I followed the traditional recipe. The look-alike decoy berry, your idea. The idea of mixing horrible tasting red berry is a perfect puzzle setup. You could introduce a berry called something like the mudberry, trollberry, cherry, or bitterblood. It grows in the same bushes and bleeds the exact same ruby red juice, but it tastes like dry sawdust and bitter ash. The cook intentionally bakes the guards pies using 90% mudberries and just enough real bloodberries on top to make it smell sweet, punishing them for capturing the princess. The heat reaction trick. You mentioned that you should be able to eat the bloodberry right off the vine and it tastes sweeter than grapes. You could establish a fun culinary rule. Bloodberries are naturally sweet raw, but the moment you apply oven heat to them, they turn incredibly sour or astringent. Unless you add a specific neutralizing agent like a rare pixie sugar, the cook just conveniently forgets to add the neutralizer to the guard's batch, resulting in a beautiful rock hard mouth puckering pastry. Use the decoy berry idea. Could even set up a great puzzle later where John has to sort the sweet bloodberries from the bitter ones to bake something, or trick Barty the gnome into eating a handful of bitter ones. Uh, yeah, okay, yeah. Luckily, these cretins don't know a bloodberry from a troll cherry. I won't call it troll cherry though, because that's something it came up with, and it's I don't know. Maybe it's not my style or something. I'm not sure. Let's see. Um, decoy berry. Have to come up with an appropriate name for the decoy berry. Those petals, those names you suggested are okay, but just still come up with something I like better. After I call decoy berry needs a name that fits perfectly. So this angry lower dropping monologue, card trajectory masterpiece. Yeah. Thanks. I'll take care of it. Plus, I only have a few minutes left today. Uh, okay. Dingleberry. Actually, that might be funny, huh? Hmm. Okay, so I was starting to think of something called a simple berry, where it has a little dimple where the stem connects to it, sort of like a cherry. Um, so that the only defining characteristic, the only discriminating characteristic is the fact that the dimple berry has these dimples, but the bloodberry does not, which, but other than that, they look exactly the same. Okay. Sounds logical, but not funny. It sounds plot, I guess, sounds believable, but not funny. And I thought of a name people call other people, Dingleberry. And honestly, um, um, even if it's not laugh out loud funny, it, it gives it an air of whimsy. And I can even use the same simple uh, feature on it. The perfect tone for your game captures a slightly cheeky, whimsical 90s adventure game humor flawlessly. Yeah, I know. These AIs, these chatbots are just like over effusive with praise here. Uh, and the Bats and Belfry Motel halfway here, keeping the apple as a single discriminating visual feature between sweet bloodberry and the foul-tasting dingleberry is also a brilliant piece of game design. It creates a classic point-and-click puzzle mechanic. To the untrained eye or the killer henchmen, they look exactly the same, meaning players will have to closely examine the sprites or the inventory items to tell them apart. It also gives the cook a hilarious out. She can either be furious or she can accidentally root that she accidentally ruined her masterpiece mimics of the race. She can smugly reveal she intentionally baked the guards a dingleberry tart just because they insulted her cooking. You have the perfect name locked in. Whenever you're ready, feel free to drop your finalized dialogue. All right. Yeah, let's see. The dumb waiter stopped a short way up, and she could hear a woman preparing something and grumbling them to herself. Philistines and cretins or cretins. Yeah, let's do those cretins or cretins. It's funny. It's funny. The term cretin or cretin, is from the island of Crete, because I guess the Isle of Crete had I don't know if they were like I guess they were bad guys or whatever. They're um, thieves, murderers, probably. I don't know exactly the extent of their evilness or whatever their badness, but being called a Cretan means they're calling you of the Isle of Crete, which back in the day was supposed to be pretty bad. So I think it's funny because you always hear Cretan here, like Cretan, like a name. You're like, what's that mean? Well, the island of Crete in Greece um, is where it originates. So I guess I don't know, roving gangs maybe or something. Maybe they're pretty bad dudes back in the day. Only agreed. Max character. Save. Graham or Gran. Um, when name for grandparent, like grandma, grandma, Grammy, grandpa, gramps, etc. Um, if someone uses the term gran, does that refer to a grandmother or grandfather? It's just neutral, I guess general neutral term for grandmother. It does not typically refer to a grandfather. It's more commonly called gramps, granddad, or grandpa, granddad. Yeah, pomegranate, celebrate. Mhm. Um, Cook is only agreeing to cook for them because her grandmother wouldn't be able to take any abuse from the guards or Max himself. Um, and the cook is going to use the term grand. Do I capitalize grand? Uh, I could manage it without being caught. I poisoned a lot of them. And only agreed to cook for that Max character as minions so they wouldn't hurt my dear old grand. If I could manage it without getting caught, I'd poison a lot of them. At least I can substitute Luckily, Gran had a recipe. Dingleberry pie. Luckily, Gran has a recipe, and those stupid guards be able to tell the difference between that and then pie. Uh, let's see. And see these stupid cards and the difference between a dingleberry and a dingleberry. And follow the recipe. See if these stupid guards can tell the difference between the blueberry and the dingleberry. Good. Said as she shoved, as she only opened the dumb waiter halfway and shoved pie inside. Hold on just a second. Hold on. Sorry about that. My dad wanted something, and I was trying to find the the microphone. we weren't saying anything weird or sensitive or anything like that. It's just I was trying to hurry up and meet it for a second so I could see what he wanted. Uh, okay, so the cook said she only opened the dumbwaiter. The cook said as she only opened the dumbwaiter halfway and shoved a tray, a couple of pies. What do you call it? Ham pies. I guess you could do a tart. A tart. Well, tarts. Um, Princess was pretty hungry by now, and the smell of the tarts were making her even hungrier. As the dumb waiter continued going up. He was about to grab one when the dumb waiter suddenly stopped again, and the door partly opened, and a couple of gloved hands grabbed the tray for closing it again. Dang, this is gonna be a long page though, and my time is up honestly. But I'm just gonna try to get this down. Uh, hmm. Okay, so the cook shoves the tray in, and it goes up. The princess almost eats a tart because she's super hungry, and it smells really good. And then it stops suddenly, and some gloved hands pulls out the tray without noticing her. Now, what happens here is they take a bite, and I'm not sure how I should frame the reaction. Either they get sick, or the dingleberries are very um very sour. What's it called? Was it called? What is that? Alum? Alum? Uh, that's not it. What's that stuff? Potassium aluminum sulfate. Okay, alum. White crystalline double sulfate of aluminum. Ammonium double sulfate of aluminum. Okay. Um, okay. So the powder they used to use in old 30s comedy shorts to show someone um, taking it, but then it being so sour or whatever that their face screws up. Probably that cooking agent though. Red powder using the classic 30s comedy shorts like the she's used in Looney Tunes to make the character's face pucker up with alum. Potassium alum. Character would often mistake the fine white powder for sugar or flour and eat a spoonful because alum is powerful astringent. It instantly causes the tissues in the mouth to contract and tighten, so it's extreme puckering sensation, far more intense than sour lemon, forcing the actor's face to scrunch up comically while their mouth feels like it shrunk. Uh, a real chemical compound that was commonly found in kitchens during that era, primarily used for a crisping agent for pickles and in baking powder. Distinctly metallic, acrid, and intensely astringent taste, not necessarily sour like citric acid, but a similar physical reaction of dryness and tightening. Was it dangerous to ingest? Uh, I know the comedians didn't actually ingest it, but I'm curious. For a healthy adult in small quantities, but used for a comedy gag. Potent astringent aggressively draws water out of tissues and causes proteins to coagulate. Swallowing it directly would result in nausea and vomiting, mucosal damage, dehydration. Okay, just curious. Thanks. All right. Cause a reaction like ingesting some alum, like those 30s comedy shorts, where their face would start to pucker whenever they put it in their mouths. Hmm. See if I can get this page done. From the reaction, prioritizing the reaction. Absolutely. Not only is it perfect, all use appropriate punchline, but it brilliantly aligns with the visual style of your game. You're using classic 1950s shorts as a core visual pillar for your world. The specific shorts practically invented the exaggerated physical comedy faces. And actually, I think there was one Tom and Jerry cartoon where Tom accidentally swallows some alum or alum. I don't know how you pronounce that alum. Um, and his face like gets puckered up and it's like turns like small and tiny. Um, Bucky reacts serves as a vital narrative purpose. Completely silences the guards. If they simply get sick, they might yell or make a huge commotion. If their mouths instantly pucker, Shot like a drawstring bag, they're completely incapacitated and only make muffin cookies grunt. This Karen a perfect quiet window to climb out of the dumbwaiter undetected. Hmm. Finally, I'm starving. Oh, these actually smell pretty good. Karen held her breath. She almost grabbed one, the ruby red tart herself during the ride up. Her stomach rumbling at the sweet, sugary scent. Looks like the new cook finally got it right. The second guard muttered. There's sounds two large simultaneous bites. For a split second, there was silence, and then sound of chewing stopped abruptly. What's wrong with your face? The guard tried to say. It came out of a strange, high pitched. Karen peeked through the crack of the dumbwaiter door as two guards had dropped their halberds and were clutching their throats, their faces completely folded inward, their lips puckered so tightly together they looked like they'd eaten a bucket of raw lemons and alum powder. Their eyes watered in silent, bitter agony as they stumbled backward against the hallway wall, desperately trying to pry their mouths open, completely ignored by the incapacitated, squeaking henchmen. Karen silently slipped out of the carriage and into the hallway. Karen, almost eating one, sense of how deceptive the dingleberries are, adding a moment of few dodged a bullet relief for her. The comedy describing the guards trying to talk with puckered mouths is classic slapstick. Escape mechanic. It cleanly justifies why the two armed guards didn't notice the apprentice climb out of the box right in front of them. How does that cart physical? It works pretty well, I think. I have to work it a bit, make sure the length is correct. And see about adding in the part of the cook inserting the tarts because it's coming up from the wine cellar and going up instead of originally where it would just go straight up so they could put their dirty dishes on it. Also, it makes more sense going just going up. Now they might send it down even if retrieving something from it. However, they might send it down even if retrieving something. They might send it down even if retrieving something from it. However, it would make sense that because of the reaction, they wouldn't. Whereas if they had put dirty dishes, they would have sent the dumb waiter back down, and she wouldn't be able to get out. Or at least it wouldn't be logical to leave dirty dishes on the dumbwaiter. Without sending it down. Make sure the length is correct. Nice. It's a brilliant catch for logic. You're completely right. If the guards were just retrieving food, they might normally send the dumbwaiter back down to the kitchen. We trapped Karen. Having the dingleberry tarts instantly incapacitate them, he provided perfect mechanical justification while the dumbwaiter just sits there with the doors open and giving her the exact window she needs to climb out. Dumbwaiter is traveling from the wine cellar, kitchen, guest floor. That's how you can weave the whole sequence together into a cohesive draft. This combines the cook's lore drop, Karen's temptation, and the guard's puckering reaction, and the kind of logic of her escape. After climbing the dim carriage with the dumbwaiter in the cellar, Karen pulled the dark cloak tight. With a hum, the carriage began to rise. Okay. The doors slid partway open, revealing the brightly lit hotel kitchen. Karen pressed herself flat against the wall. Philistine's a lot of them. A tray of exquisite ruby red tarts was shoved aggressively into the carriage, nearly missing Kieran's knees. I only agreed to cook for these thugs to protect Gran, and if they think they can insult my baking, they can enjoy a batch of foul-tasting dingleberries instead of sweet bloodberries. Too distracted by our own culinary outrage to look closely into the shadows, the cook slammed the dumbwaiter door shut and pulled the rope to send it further up. During the continued upward journey, Karen held her breath. Her stomach rumbled. The tart smelled incredibly sweet, and she almost reached out to grab one, but the carriage suddenly lurched to a halt again. The door slid open, and a pair of thick, gloved hands to reach in and blindly grab the tray. Finally, a gruff voice echoed in the hallway. "I'm starving." Looks like the new cook finally got it right. There was a sound with two large simultaneous bites. For a split second, there was a silence. Then the chewing stopped abruptly. "What's wrong with your face?" The first guard tried to say, but it came out as a strained, high-pitched. Karen peeked through the crack of the dumbwaiter doors. The two guards had dropped their halberds. Their faces completely folded inwards, and lips worked so tightly together that it looked like they had eaten a bucket of raw lemons and alum powder. Stumbling backward in silent, bitter agony, they desperately tried to pry their own mouths open, completely forgetting to send the dumbwaiter back down to the kitchen. Taking advantage of the incapacitated squeaking henchman, Karen silently slipped out of the carriage and into the hallway. Yeah. Yeah, I was trying to tell it even though it didn't get what I was saying because I guess I didn't explain it right. But basically, it doesn't make sense that they would put dirty dishes on there and just leave the dumbwaiter there. They would probably automatically send it down unless they're really lazy or something. But naturally, you would just do that. You'd send the dumbwaiter back down because the dishes already they're already used, right? So this wouldn't give her a chance to exit, right? If it was sent back down. So uh, I was trying to explain it makes more sense if it goes up and the cook is sending the guards some food, and then this happens, and then regardless of whether you would send it back down after taking something from the tray, you might not. You might not care, right? In fact, you might leave it there and return the dishes when you're done. So it might have stayed there the whole time. But then also is this thing about the tarts and stuff. So I mean that's good. I almost want to copy this sequence directly, but at the same time, this is kind of long for one thing, and for the other thing is there's a few things that I might would change probably. Um, um, They managed it without getting caught. It poisoned a lot of them. Plus, he granted for the recipe. Let's see if these stupid guards can tell the difference between bloodberry and a dingleberry. Said as she only opened the dumbwaiter halfway and shoved the tray with a couple of tarts. Shoved in a tray with a couple of tarts. Princess, the princess's. Is that okay? Princess's stomach rumbled as the smell of the tarts uh, wafted it up into her face. Sweet. And wafted up into her face. Wafted up. We'll do like that. The sweet smell of the tarts wafted up. The dumbwaiter continued. Just as I grabbed one when the dumbwaiter suddenly stopped again, and the door partially opened, and a couple of gloved hands grabbed the tray before closing again. Ooh, something, something special. I love bloodberries. It said said a guard. Said a voice. Hey, give me one of those. Said, give me one of those. Said another voice. Princess under breath. The first voice sounded like it had a mouthful of something when it spoke. And a mouthful of heart when it spoke. Yeah. Kitchen. Cook is magic in the kitchen. It's mind having her for dinner. It sounds a little, I don't know, a little crude. I wouldn't mind having her cooking for me. This is delicious. Having her cook for me. Second voice had finished swallowing. It's a real good. I wonder if the boss could not her like he did the princess. Like he did the the voice suddenly he couldn't suddenly the princess couldn't make out what he was saying as if he couldn't. Okay, let's put that in a new paragraph. I'm not sure if that should be, but then the princess couldn't make out what he was saying. Um, the first voice started to talk again. Hey, what's into your She opened the door a little wider until she could see the two guards on the floor, grasping their own necks and their faces in a pucker like they had just chewed several lemons mixed with alum powder. Uh, okay. Not wanting to tempt fate, she jumped out and headed. She jumped out, headed through the double doors. Then started going down the stairs to her right. Okay, to your right. To her left, to her right, whatever. He hears a few voices. Hears a few voices, and then goes back up. And then heads down the hallway with evenly spaced doors, apparently guest rooms. And then heads down the stairs at the end of that hallway. Heading back up, she looks back down the hallway she just came from. She saw. She looked. Doggone it. Here. When Princess Command, first voice started to talk again. Hey, what's happening to your? She opened the door a little wider until she could see the two guards on the floor grasping their necks and their faces. With their faces in a pucker like they had just chewed several lemons mixed with alum powder. At one attempt fate, she jumped out, headed through the double doors, and started going down the stairs to her right. She heard a few voices and then went back up. And then headed down the hallway, the evenly spaced doors, apparently guest rooms, and then headed back down the stairs at the end of that hallway, heading back up, hearing more voices. Heading back up, she looked back down the hallway she just came from. She saw a closet near the staircase. closest to her, and but also figured he might could duck into one of the hotel rooms. Ha! How long does that look? That's kind of long, but I'm gonna keep it, I think. I'll have to shorten it eventually, but I won't do it this time. Hit one if you want the princess to run to the closet. On the left. Hit 2 if you want the princess to duck into the nearest room on the right. Hit 3 if you want the princess to head into the room, into the second nearest room. Hit 0 to quit. Okay. Okay, time is up, but I had to finish this page. It's a little long, but I can always shorten it later. Gonna wrap up your session. The perfectly combine every single mechanical and comedic element we discussed today into a cohesive scene. The cook setup. Be seamlessly woven the grand motivation, the Bloodberry versus Dingleberry lore right out of the gate, makes the cook instantly sympathetic and explains exactly what's in the pastries. Tension and relief. Karen's stomach grumbling and almost grabbing a tire herself in great detail. She tells how tempting the trap was and makes her near miss even better. The henchman banner. Having them casually chat about the boss kidnapping the cook right before the trap springs is a classic 90s adventure game dialogue. I don't know if it's classic, but whatever, I'll take it. The Alan Pucker punchline, the abrupt oomph mid-sentence, and the cartoony aluminum powder reactions perfectly silence the guards without raising violent alarm, giving Karen the exact quiet window she needs to slip out. If you're concerned about the length, do not worry about that at all right now. The prose itself flows beautifully. If you feel like it's too much text for a single screen and read out later, this draft is a very natural split point right after the dumbwaiter leaves the kitchen. Most importantly, your choices at the end line up flawlessly with the exact branching logic you set up in your event pass for Chapter 5. Perfectly tee up your destinations: closet, the empty room, the map room. God, again, since you mentioned your time's at more place to drop a bookmark, go wrap up your stream and enjoy your break. You locked in some top tier puzzle logic and narrative prose today. When you're ready, yeah, probably sometime tomorrow, at least, for me. Thanks for the help. Okay, and all right, so let's go ahead and this is Title 3, page 0. Okay. So let's see in my page list how long that is. Okay. All right. Control C. Okay. B. Search for the princess. Unlikely help. A possible escape. For the wine and cheese. A way out. Wait a second. What Okay, wait. Oh, a way out. Okay, so uh, let's remove. Oh, for the wine and cheese. Way out. So today, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6. I only got 6 done today. Um, Technically, I had one from yesterday, some extra ones, so I had actually done 216 instead of 215. But I decided to put 215 on the title. So I only did 6 today. Not great. I mean, it's even less than the 10 that I'd wanted to do. Um, who knows? Maybe I'll get some time tonight and I'll be able to finish the extra somehow. But okay, so let me do my little recording and then it'll be time to go. So today is Thursday, June 18th, 2026, and today didn't get that much done because I had a discussion with Grok about a couple of things. The Yeah, the page where Hubert and John decide to find and rescue the princess. I had to introduce the count here, and I hadn't really had any stuff to introduce the count with. But apparently, uh, Notebook LM informed me that I had already in my notes. I had the stuff there. So what I did was um, I kind of used that. I kind of made the page, okay, and then the next couple of pages were fairly easy. Um, Unlikely help, that's a little bit long. Some of these are a little bit long. Uh, then we have a possible escape, which is dumbwaiter, and then of course we have for the wine and cheese, and then a way out. And so I had to think up some text there. I couldn't actually change it because originally it had the guards place a tray there, and they just leave it, and so the princess is then able to escape when they walk away. And I was thinking, um, I don't know. There's several things I was trying to figure out what dialogue should be, what they should be saying and stuff, making jokes about the boss, making jokes about the cook or whatever. And I realized that if you were if you're putting dishes on the dumbwaiter, you'd automatically send it back down because they're already done, right? You're done eating food or whatever. So I figured really it should go up and they should be getting food delivered to them. And that would make sense of leaving it there. Uh, it would make sense that they would leave the dumbwaiter there until they were done eating and when they would send it down afterwards. But but then I had the thing of the cook. So instantly we show the cook is a sympathetic character, especially when she helps the princess and helps our good guys, helps the princess escape, basically. So I decided that there'd be a tart, and I come up with this thing called Dingleberry. Just it's goofy. You call somebody Dingleberry as a name, and so I was thinking, you know what? At first I said, okay, so there's a dimpleberry, right? Because it has this little dimple where the stem meets the berry, sort of like the way cherry stem works, right? Um, but it's virtually indistinguishable from the bloodberry. Um, but the dingleberry is so sour that it makes you pucker up, and it's not very pleasant to eat. And so the cook actually wants to poison them because they're the bad guys really, and she doesn't like any of them. But instead of doing that, she didn't want anybody to get hurt, even herself, and so she decides to throw in some dingleberries into the bloodberry tart, and they love it at first, and then they take it, and then suddenly their mouths puckers up so tight that they can't do anything. They're clutching at their throats. They're down on the ground, and I figured this is a good way for the princess to escape without kind of alerting anybody else, right? So yeah, so it kind of turned into something good, and half of it is partly based on my documents. So it's using Notebook LM. Notebook LM did come up with a few good things. Oh, so I mean I didn't like mostly use anything, but I did kind of because a lot of it was based on my own writing. Anyways, that's what I so I only got today. I only got 6 pages done total today, which is not very good. But I guess um, yesterday's big glut of pages I did kind of makes up for it. So we're still kind of on track, I guess. Anyways, yeah. So with that, I will go ahead and say, uh, yeah. So that's what I did today. Okay, thank you for watching, especially Rook and anybody that's just watching on any of the other platforms that don't have an account or don't want to be logged in, which is totally understandable. Thank you for watching, and join me next time, hopefully tomorrow, for another session where I get some more done. The faster I get these done, the quicker I get phase one done. I'm almost done with phase one, which is a good thing. That's a big milestone phase one is. So, anyways, thanks for watching. Uh, I'll see you later.